All right, guys, going live here. So hopefully we're all good. We're caught up. I'm pretty sure we are. So um, today, today I just want to touch base with everyone again, like we've been doing usually. We're going to talk about getting the ballots out. As everyone's aware of it, today is the 23rd, right? So it's a week from today. Next Wednesday is the end of this, right? So that'll be the 30th. And then what they're going to do on the last day is they're going to pick up the ballots at 9:30 in the morning, AAA, and they will make a final pickup at 5 o'clock in the evening. And those are the ballots that'll be counted for this election. And any ballots that received after that will be in a void. So it's very important to everybody that go on the Cooperative for Academy website. Several other sites will have you the information. I think the district council sent out emails as well on where you could call a number. I'll post them again as soon as I get offline, so we have that information available for everybody if you don't have a ballot. It's very important, guys, this election. This is going to be everything that has to do with our district council in the whole, right? People want to believe one side, people want to believe the other side. I look at the facts and what's happened. Statistical numbers show you. We've merged every council across the country. We're the last council left, last district council, sole survivor, right, of the entire brotherhood, including Canada. We're the last one. We're the last district council that has a one-man, one vote. One member, one vote for executive boards and the top positions. To me, that means a lot, like I discussed in yesterday's video, right? That's the thing that keeps us separated, right? That keeps everyone accountable. So we don't want to give that up. I definitely don't want to give it up. You know, it's very important to me, and it should be important to everyone here because that's what holds us, accountable to everything. Transparency. That's the one thing I think that we're lacking, and I think that's what caused us to be in the rut we're in today. I don't think the right people are being hired for the position, and the right people, are working with those people to establish a good process on how to go after the work. And if you don't have the right people around you and people are screwing off, it's a bad parameter for everyone working at the council, right? So no one's going to be pulling their own weight, right? The old saying's true, right? You need more people pulling the wagon than sitting in the wagon, right? If you got too many people sitting in the wagon don't move anywhere. All right, so basically, some questions you guys banged out to me. Feel free, anybody, if you want to send me a question, send it ahead, because by the time I'm done with this, I'll give a quick rundown on what's on there. Running for election and picking your team, right? So people ask me why I didn't pick. I covered this in other videos, but I have no problem remarking it. People ask me why I didn't pick any one of the specialty trades, right? I worked with a lot of specialty trades over the years. I worked with the dock builders and timbermen. Have a lot of respect for the dock builders and timbermen. I worked at millwrights over the years. A couple of millwrights I worked with. Actually, one guy, he passed away. His nephew is a business agent now in the millwrights. What the hell's his name now? I can't think of his name. I'm so bad with names. 30 years ago, I can't remember. He made me some tools. I still have them this day in one of my woodworking boxes. The guy was really brilliant. Great mechanic. Unbelievable. But listen, when you're putting together a ballot like this, it's never easy. There's a lot of pressure behind this stuff, like I said before. They come at you, they make false accusations about you. They did it in the last election. Joe brought me up on charges. It was, I made secret recordings, all lies, straight up lies. They made lies about me stealing. They just, anything they could do to throw it at you and load tactics to like rile you up. And then when you go back at them, they throw it back at you. Oh, you said this about this guy. You said, they make up stories. I mean, it's ridiculous, some of the lies they made. Tell a non-union company, they just off the wall stuff, right? Stole material for jobs 30 years ago. You can't make this stuff up. So when you try to put a ticket together like this, and you got 4 days to do it. Remember, McGordy flipped the coin on me. I thought this was going to be me against Paul Caparso. So that last minute, they knew that I had to put two other guys together. Who are the two other guys you pick? And can those guys weather the storm? That you got to ask yourself, right? I ran a ticket in 157, and people dropped off the next day. People got to them, put pressure on them. Charles Buddock, my president, he ran a ticket in 926. People got to him, they put pressure on you, and they put pressure on whoever they listen. They have IGs and business agents show up at your job. They've done this. This is tactics that have been going on for years. And people just bail, and the last thing you want to do when you're running a ticket is lose one of your guys. That's what happened in my last election. Mind you, it was his fault. He didn't know his dues were paid up. But you lose a guy, and you lose his support. Now you have an empty spot on the ticket. And that could cost you valuable votes, right? You're running a weak ticket now. So, like I said in my last videos, I picked Charles because first of all, I think Charles is highly experienced to do what he wants to do, and you guys are all willing to go online and Google him for yourself, see all the community boards and the work that he does in Brooklyn. He blows me away at how he can handle a thing. I think he could probably handle a delegate meeting better than I can. I'll be honest with you. He's very on point about everything. And Dougie was picked because Dougie's been around a long time. I know the work that Dougie's done, you know, as far as helping people and the passion that he has and things. He does that from the heart, you know, and Dougie has my back. You know, I can tell you right now, like, no one's coming at me with him in a room with me. He just ain't gonna it ain't gonna happen. You know, he's got my back. He's like a brother to me. He's like, you know, forget about it, you know. I've always steered Dougie in the right way in life, and I've always given him, you know, opportunities and helped him out. We joke around a lot, and, you know, he appreciates everything he's done for me, and I appreciate everything he's done for him. And like Dougie, I'll tell you, I've never asked him for anything. So when I asked him to run, he's like, whatever you want, I'm there for you. So, you know, to have somebody like that that has your back, you know, that to me meant a lot, right? Like, there's certain people in the world that you know have your back, and, you know, they're hard to find. Like, I got a lot of friends, and I got real true friends. Like, do you see the video of that guy, John Mendoza? Good friend of mine. That guy's got my back. Former, you know, he's a military veteran. I know him for many, many years. His son was in the Union. I got a son who was an apprentice. John's been here for years. His son passed away in a kayaking accident. People remember a couple of years ago. He was late George with his girlfriend. He drowned in a kayak accident. That was actually John Mendoza's scene. A great kid, man. He was had him with Island Acoustics. Everyone loved him. He was with a tough foreman, the guy Brian, and Brian loved him. He thought he was a good kid. You know, another tragic things that happened. So, but you know, these are just things when you try to pick a ticket, you got to get the right guys together. So, you know, everyone's got an opinion when it comes to doing this, but believe me, when you're in this arena doing it, it's tough, guys. They dig deep. They'll come at you. They'll try to get you fired from your job. They'll do crazy things, man. And I've seen it happen to people. You know, they had Billy Davenport, God rest his soul. They were calling him a child molester, making up stories. They went after Patty Crane, calling him a wife beater. Anything they could throw at you. You know, they made a story up that I was friends with Patty O'Neill. I don't know what that means anyway, that I went to high school with him. Guy was 15, 16 years older than me. Unless I was Doogie Howser, MD. I don't know how the hell I went to high school with him. But, you know, people don't look at the facts and just hear the stories and they go with the story, because the story always sounds better than the truth, right? So, anyway, to move on to the other questions here. They just said to me, someone has asked me about the consent decree, right? And what they think that removal of the consent decree would have on the merger, right? The facts are, guys, this is the facts, all right? The only thing that stopped us from being merged before this is the consent decree. That's it, guys. There's no other word about it. The only reason we're still standing alone and we have our $10 billion in a pension fund is because of that. If it wasn't, we'd be gone, the building be gone, we'd be Northeast Regional Carpenters, we'd be regional areas and business agents, and it would be a whole different night to what's going on. Like I said, if you guys don't understand, you can check for yourself. By all means, email other people, check across the country, you'll see what it's all about. That one man, one vote would be gone, right? You know, Paul finally admitted in his last delegate debate, the merger, he finally admitted that the consent decree was going in, but then he threw the words in the one man, one vote, right? He said he would keep that there. You know, I don't believe him. You know, he lied in the last election, you know, lied in the next election. You know, he's about time. He could walk away whatever he wants. He's got 3 pensions. Believe me, he's going to walk away with a pension 4 or 5 times of what I'm getting or anyone else is getting. That's a good of a pension these guys have. But you know, when he walks away, yeah, he could do something with the election. But I'll tell you right now, after this November election, if I don't win, there will be no other election. I'll guarantee you that. That I'll tell you. Yeah, he'll put something out there for the next 3 years. We'll have the one man vote, even though it'll be 4 years before the next election. But they'll find a way to get rid of that. They'll dance around it, and they'll have the lawyers move it out, and that'll be the end of it. And they'll do just like they do the rest of the country. They merge us together and they take the funds. That's what it's about, right? And they put their millions in there and they got their guys and the delegates have their appointment people and that's it. They got the reins and they got a full tank of gas and they do what they want, you know? It's politics, guys, and politics isn't always fair, you know? So, but, so one of the other things somebody brought up to me today, which I thought was something I brought up in the past, it was they sent here a text message or an email to me. Speaking about stamp shortage forms, right? So stamp shortage forms, I brought this up many times in the past, even my previous election. It's a screwed up system. From what I understand, we're the only place in the country that does that, where if there's a stamp shortage issue on a job site, we have the actual member filling out the stamp shortage form. And this guy reached out to me today because he had to fill out a stamp shortage form, and because of that, he was later fired from his job, from his company, right? It wasn't happen that day. Later on, they got rid of him for whatever reason. They made up. We got no more work for you, blah, blah, blah. That was it, right? So, I had a BA one time drop the ball because, I'll tell you, Glenn Hatchett. I'm not going to hide that. Glenn, you know you did it, so we're going to talk about it. So I was doing a job downtown. It wasn't the steward, right? And there was a problem with the stamp shortage form. There was a problem with the stamp, and they were back like 11 weeks. A regular company guy working for a company, storefronts and stuff like that. It was a friend of mine, happened to be the super for the company. It was down at the World Trade Center. It was Metroplex. I even tell you the name of the company. And, the super knew me. I got him in the union, actually, back in the day. Anthony Proto, good friend of mine. So there was a problem with the stamps, the whole 9 yards. But, I got a call from the council, and actually Paul called me. He was one of the people who called me. And he asked me what was going on down on the job. I said, Paul, listen, I'm not the steward. There's another guy here, East European guy. He was worthless, but whatever. He was never there. Like, he'd leave early, whatever it was. He goes, what's the problem with the stamps? Blah, blah. I go, listen, I'm not really sure. He goes, when was the last time you get the stamps? I go, I don't remember. He goes, it's got to be at least 8 weeks. He goes, would it be like 11 weeks? I said, I don't know. Meanwhile, I'm not going to lay it up, Paul, because he's looking at the computer right in front of him, right? I said, Paul, if you say it's 11 weeks, it's probably 11 weeks. I tell you the truth, I really haven't followed through on it. So to make a long story short, they decided to put the job on the shutdown, right? And, the two supers were talking about it. And little did anyone realize, right? Glenn comes to me. Glenn goes to them, and he doesn't even show up on the job at the 3:30, and he puts the job on a shutdown. But he waits to the end of the day, right? Normally, we would just go shut the job at the beginning of the day. He goes to the super, and the two supers, and he's like, yeah, it was Mike Powell who dropped the dime on you guys. I had it all set up with the pension fund, the benefit funds, and you're going to be all good. And, little did he realize the guy he's telling is my guy, right? The guy I put the union. So Glenn is trying to rat me out. That's ever since then, me and Glenn have never really had, because I got his number for who he really was that day. And this is the fact. I can prove it. I have documents and everything to prove everything I'm saying. So if Glenn's got a problem with this, bring it on, Glenn. I can prove every bit of it. So let's do this whenever you want to do it. But that was the issue. So he played that game. Now, had I been anyone else in that job, right, I'd be out of a job, right? So the stamp shortage forms are a joke, right? But I think we're the only part in the country that makes the actual member fill it out. And it's for things like that. Like, the company might not come at you that day, but they're going to come at you. I get in there, that's going to change, guys, right? No longer will a worker have to fill out a stamp shortage form. I will put that on the organizer or council employee, the rep, who's ever doing it, or the shop steward will have to do it, right? And if there's a problem with that company, I will look into every other person working with that company to make sure that all their stamps are up to date. Therefore, if you're having a problem with your stamps, you will not be the singular person following that stamp shortage form. There'll be multiple stamp shortage forms filled out for multiple people working for that company guys, whoever, so that there'll be no way for them to figure out which was the person who reported it, okay? You go to work, you do your job, you should get paid the money you get entitled to, and your benefits should be paid. And if I'm your leader, I'll make sure that everybody's held accountable to do their job as well. And I will not put you in harm's way like that. You should not have to worry about fighting to get your benefits and the fact of losing your job, because it makes people hesitant about stepping forward. And I think some reasons that's why it's probably done like that. So, because of that reason, like I know what it's like to be that guy. Listen, I had a company out in the airport try to play some games and tell me that they paid a differential rate at the airport and did some whole thing. I told the guy straight up, I said, bro, listen to me. I told the BA, I was like, ain't happening, bro. I said, I filled in for these guys at night. I did the work. I'm getting my time and a half. Oh no, it's a differential. We just pay the hour. I said, not at the airport, but that's up to you. You asked me to stay to do some woodwork. And they had no more work for me anyway. I said, listen, either have my check and have it at my house, and I had to go pick up my tools, but they mailed the check to my house with the overtime, or I'll follow grievance. I'll follow the grievance. Guess what? They had my money, and I went and got my tools, and I got my money with my overtime. I said, listen, I'm not playing games. The deal was you're not playing this game where you pay me. First of all, at the airport, no way. But they tried to, it's a mall rate. That mall rate setup that they had was for like Target stores. That didn't fall into the Port Authority job at the airport and how they did it. So it was just somebody trying to play games with me, and they were trying to, see if they can get away with something. I wasn't the steward, but I just put them in their place. Now I don't know what happened to other people if they got screwed around from that company, but I figured out what's going on, and company's been around a long time. I'm not going to mention who they were, but I straightened them out right away, right? The BA didn't seem like they wanted to help me. whatever, he's not around anymore. But I said it straight. I shot the fucking shot at him. I say, listen, that ain't happening. I get what I get paid. That's it. I do work. He told me to come do the work. I did my part of the job. You're not screwing me at him. They would have paid me the last hour, time and a half, or double time. Not happening. I said. So, that's another thing you got to follow through on that stuff. So, guys, stamp shortage forms. They should be put on the. It should be put on the member, because the member, that's the guy. The steward maybe has protection, because we can protect the steward from getting laid off. But the member hasn't. They cannot make that the reason, right? But then they could just turn around a week later, 2 days later, say, oh, we have no work for you. You're gone, right? Because you stood up for yourself. So we'll make sure I'll make sure that doesn't happen, that you're protected. And if there's ever a fucking issue with that, you'll have my group of guys down there you can reach directly out to, and I'll make sure that that's handled. And if they don't do their job, guess what, bro? They'll be on the other work list next. So everyone's going to do the right thing for their members, No more games. So someone asked me questions about the CC Metro Fund, right? And there's no clarification about where their funds go and what the money is. This is true. From what I understand, Alan Bond was on this stuff. In all my years, I don't remember too much about where. I know there's like $100-something million. I think it's under $50-something million, the funds, where the money's going, how it's being spent, who's running it. Smoke and mirrors, guys. I have no clue. Your guess is as good as mine. Paul Fernandez is one of the guys on there. I don't know what he was. He was there for a while. I don't know. I'll be honest with you about this. It's very shady to me. I knew there was an audit for the benefit funds and everything done by Dennis Schwartz with the judge back in the day, and then they got rid of the judge. So I don't know when the last time a forensic audit was done. But this is one of the other questions that was sent to me. But if I do take office, that is the first thing I'm doing. I've already got a team of lawyers set up. I have an accountant firm set up that was recommended to me from a very good colleague of mine that specializes in forensic audits, and I'm allowed to do that when I take over as an EST through the LMRB. I can come in and do a forensic audit. So we'll get that forensic audit done. There's going to be a lot of people ain't happy about that, but you got my guarantee that forensic audit will be done, because I am not taking over a set of funds until I know where every penny of that money is and where it's been allocated to. And that's what I'm going to do. Does that make them nervous? Makes them very nervous. That's why they're coming at me hard. They're coming at me double-fisted, guys. I won't get into the details, but believe me, they're coming at me with everything. So, listen, unfortunately, it's what I signed up for. It shouldn't be this, right? You should be able to run an election democratically, and it shouldn't be like this type of thing. But listen, people get dirty, guys. It's everything. Everything in this world isn't, sunshine and rainbows, as they would say, right? So this is what you got to deal with. You got to make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's, and cover your ass, So that's important, and I'm gonna make sure that the funds, where that stuff is going. Knock it off, guys. You gotta make sure that the funds, when they're set up like that, that somebody is giving this information to the members. Okay. So, Bella, no. You got to make sure the members are kept informed where their money's going. And then, what's going on with CC Metro, I can't tell you everything, so I don't want to speak out of line. But, I know a lot of the stuff, the fundraiser stuff we do, the shirts, I think the picnic, I think a lot of that comes out of that CC Metro Fund. I can't tell you everything about it, so I don't think anyone has that information except the people that are there. So, that'll be something, I will have these answers for you. If I'm elected, I will get these answers to everybody, and I'll make sure that's information, and I'll make sure there's an audit done on the funds. I'll make sure the person who takes over for the funds or the person that's there will put together something, and they'll release the information. Actually, just getting a text right now. CC Metro has $50 million in their funds right now. $50 million. So, wait a second right here. Can you please? Oh, okay, so yeah, that's $50 million, right? Yeah. So what's going on with those funds? We're gonna figure that out, guys. We're gonna be on top of it. Mike, can you please elaborate on with the guys you thought and possibly plan on how to get back the high rise back? You're gonna have to deal with the real estate boards out there, right? Our numbers are our numbers, right? So that's the problem, guys. The contractors that are stealing our work right now, our biggest problem out there are the double-breasted contractors. They're playing both sides of the field, right? Just like what happened with novelists, right? I think Mike Beeler was the one that originally started that lawsuit against novelists. We gotta level the playing field, guys. We gotta find out who these second companies are. We gotta put together a database. We gotta get these companies back on track, right? Can't let them play these games anymore. What they're doing. We had a company bidding a job over on 8th Avenue, 70 stories, with a roller coaster on it. They came in at 150 million, and we came back. I think we lowered our number to like 140 something. They were in the 130s. They dropped their number to 121. They took the job from it to RCA or something like that was the name of the company. They stole a lot of our work before. But we should have a researching company that follows these guys and documents everything, right? Get some computer people with a thing in there, and we should be, when we're dealing with a super, a name, a contractor, we'll actually put it to a database. So if I deal with this super on another job, I just type in the name. If it was Michael Power myself, we type in the computer, it would pop up. You know, he works with this company's affiliated with this guy. Kind of like my buddy does, who's an ex-FBI agent. He does the same type of stuff. He's got some type of security business. He discussed it with me one time, and I said, I don't know why we don't have something like that. But I believe Rich Green might have something similar to that, but I don't know to the intent of following contractors around. But if we're going to put people in charge of doing this research should be information that should be put into a database that we could follow back up on it. Getting our high-rise work back is going to be a challenge. All right, we have 2 jobs right now in all the 5 boroughs. I watched it back in the day when we had 11 hotels going up, and we had 2 hotels in all the 5 boroughs going up out of 11. Right. The demo, the cranes, it's the other trades that are killing us, guys. It's the other thing doing it. They don't want to come to the bargaining table. Nobody wants to. You know, we could do a blended rate, right, with our apprentices. We do a blended rate with our number with the B rate, and then we put those packages together. So you got. So now instead of getting 5 guys at $108 an hour, you got 5 guys and 2 of them are getting the A rate. Then you got 1 guy get B rate, and then you move the apprentice numbers around and you try to get a blended rate. So you're trying to get that $108, probably get it to the $90 mark or the $87 mark in that number, and then that's where you want to be. Will that get us there? That's the problem. All right. So then we got to do is these jobs that do fall through our grip, we can't hold back on them. Right. We got to hit them even harder. We got to hit them, we got to get our picket lines up there. We got to follow through on the safety things. We got to sort these jobs. We got to get the work back in every field we can and target that work, right? So how are you going to stop a contractor? To me, the best way to do it is 2 ways, right? You're going to go over and you're going to hit this guy with this, make sure he's up on his safety regulations, everything else, and go after his key workers, right? If I go to a job, how do I put you out of business, right? I'm going to take your guys away from you. So now you have 2 choices. Either you sign up and become a signatory union contractor, or you start paying your guys more money, right? And then I put the pressure on you, right? And if little things by picket lines, we slow the job down. And the more you slow the job down, if there's a 33% difference between a union job and a non-union job, you got to move that. You got to move that number, right? So if I move that number to 33%, I start getting you with DOT fines, and I start slowing your job down. I'm pulling your manpower away and slowing up your work. That also before you know it, that number's 33% is at 14%. Now a developer's like, listen, I'll do the 14%. I'll pay the extra money, the premium number, and I'll get the union contractor in here. And I know this job is going to be done. I watched the building go up one time on Rector Street. It was a Japanese or Chinese company. The guy built it. It took 5 years for this job to go up. It was a hotel, small hotel on Rector Street. 5 years. If that was a Turner Tishman job, 18 months start to finish. And the amount of money that guy took, my buddy he's retired. Frankie, how you doing, Frankie? You're probably out there watching this video. He retired as a carpenter. He was with the building department. Even he said, the penalties and the liability while the sidewalks got full up is tremendous for a contractor. So listen, we're hired because of our skill and speed, right? So remember, guys, when you have that sidewalk scaffold up, you're vulnerable to lawsuits, you're vulnerable to penalties and fines, violations. So the key thing is having the right skilled people that are a contractor that can remedy that. So the longer that's down, whatever profit you saved on that 33%, you could be losing in violations and lawsuits if things were to happen with penalties with that sidewalk. So you're very vulnerable while they're open to the buildings there. That's why they have these sidewalk scaffoldings and stuff put up. So yeah, so that's the key thing as far as getting that concrete back and things. Let me just jump on here real quick, guys, because I don't want to keep you guys on here for a tremendous amount of time. But let me see what you guys have on the live feed if I can find it. Maybe I can get to it real quick. All right. Oh, there's John Mendoza. Okay. He's up there. Thomas. All right, so I think we're good. I think I hit everything. Yeah, so that's about it, guys. All right. So back to the election. You guys have up to this Friday to get your union dues paid up. That post I put up yesterday, when I get the other information about the ballots, I'll put it up there. Remember, they do not count the ballots right now. If you do not have your dues up to date, make the call. Call the council. Make sure your assessment's up to date. Write an email. Write a text message. Get it in writing, guys. It's always important to get everything in writing. Never trust anyone. Always get it in writing. That's what my attorney tells me. You gotta make sure you're in good standing, right? So your assessment or your fines are paid up and your union dues are paid up. You have to be paid up to the end of January to qualify to be in good standing for this. So, like I said to the guys that are in and out of work, if you just have to pay that 1 month, pay it. The local has to take it. If there's an issue there, by all means, private message me, send me the message, and I'll help get on top of it to make sure that that's done, right? That's it. That gets you guys paid up Friday. This is a big crunch. Once again, call your friends, call up. If you start getting a ballot back anytime after today or tomorrow, I'm going to highly recommend, guys, pay the $4 or $5, $6, send that to baby overnight, right to it, arbitration thing, and you can send it just overnight express. It'll cost you a few dollars, but it'll make your vote count. Listen, guys, we're talking our medical, we're talking our pension, we're talking our annuity, all right? We're talking major issues here. They're going to say one thing, I'm telling you what's going to happen, and it's happening across the country. So, like I said, I made the decision to jump into this election because I understood what the members are going through. People know me for a long time. I've helped many members get jobs. I've made calls for people. Made calls today for someone to get a supervisor position with a big drywall framing company to get them an interview. And I built these relationships over years, right? I'm working with contractors and dealing with people. They didn't just become my friend with my good looks. Obviously, I must know what I'm doing at some scales. And I'm an advocate for getting licenses. Guys, I have pretty much every license in the world. If I told you some of them, I'm everything from an ordained minister to hazardous licenses and lead abatement of removal and special removal licenses and site safety manager licenses. I got it all. I'm a licensed notary, both online and in person. I do both notaries and stuff like that. I do that for free of charge. I don't charge anybody, especially veterans or union members. I've done it free of charge. Anyone that's doing stuff for their kids or something like that. College time, I've done many trips at night or on the way home. I stop at people's houses to help out because, once again, I think it's something we should offer people. You know, I believe in it. What do you say right there? Oh, someone just texted me. Are you going to do weddings? Are you going to offer the wedding at the district council delegate meeting? Nice, funny guys, funny. Listen, I took the courses. I could actually do marriage counseling now and couples counseling. Go figure it out. When my fiance found that very entertaining when she found that out. But listen, people want to get married, right? And at the end of the day, if you're different religions, and I've studied a couple of religions from Muslim to Judaism, and a lot of them have a lot of similarity things, and religions are good things, right? So sometimes people are different religions, they can't get married in the church they want to, so they get married outside. So someone has to officiate it, make it legal to the state. So that's where I would come in, right? And I highly recommend anyone to do it. It's not a big process. If you want to get into the other process with the marriage counseling and studying the religions, it's a little bit more thinking and reading, but it's very interesting. I found it great to do. You can make a great little extra income with it if you want to do it, But there's a lot of people that are, for the LGBTQ team that wants to get married, and in today's world, to get their death benefits or to get their medical insurance, this is stuff they have to do in other states. In their state, I think we have. You could do domestic partner. I think it all falls in that. But other people want to get married, and they should get married. Listen, if it makes somebody happy, I'm all for it. Listen, if it makes you happy, and that's what you feel like you want to do, and I can make someone's day better, why not? Not only that, I get to go to a great party and have a few drinks with some people. I think it's entertaining. So, it's just something I just want to throw out there, right? But listen, it's also great for your kids too, as far as getting like first aid CPR license and training and stuff like that. It always looks good on their resume. To get that type of training when they go into school. It's just stuff to beef this stuff up even when they go out of school. So it's something that I get announced with the council will open up a lot of that training to our families and friends. And if they want to do training out here in Long Island, I'm friends with law firms that will actually sponsor us and do stuff for free. I think we use a lot of law firms for the Latino Club and stuff like that. But we might as well use them for a good thing like that as well as getting training. I could get a free place out in Long Island, like a high-end resort or hotel, and we could set something up with it. I also have a friend that does the training for pets as well, and I'm going to get that certification all done, and as well as my defensive driving course to teach a 5-hour defensive driving. So, listen, I could talk on and on and on, guys, as you can see. Man, I could chat all day. With 30 minutes in, I want to go 20. So, let's get these ballots to the mail. I'm going to make this shareable. I just made the one from yesterday shareable onto YouTube. So it'll make it easy if you guys want to go on there. I think if you just Google Irish Mike 608 YouTube, you'll find all my videos on there. Give you some of them informational, some of them are pretty good. I got one on there when I'm ranting. I guess I look a little crazy, but whatever. It has to. Sometimes you got to get out there and hit them hard. Sometimes the putting it out there for the members to hear is what they got to hear. Sometimes saying it like it is what needs to be done. Some people want to hear that. So. But the good weather's coming. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I thought work would be a little busy this year. I know we're always kicking the ball. My gut tells me it's going to be slow for a while. Grab onto what you can with both hands. Don't be picky. Scaffolding. I just spoke to a guy today. He goes out sometimes as a steward doing scaffolding. He listens to me when I think it is. Listen, it pays the bills. It's a good gig. You get some night work out of it. Also, when you get into that scaffolding, you kind of network. And you could hook up really good. I got a friend of mine that runs hardware work, always looking for good hardware men. So hardware is a good way to be. Woodworking is very important too. I'm looking for woodworkers. I got a company, actually 2 companies looking for woodworkers. If you can triple your way into that type of skill, you should definitely do it. If you're an apprentice, reach out to me. Let me see if I can try to work out with one of these companies so we can start getting a qualified apprentice in there and start learning the trade. As time goes on, that's you want to fall into a specialty part of the trade, something that makes you a little bit more important to them. So you can always want something to fall back on. Don't just lock yourself into one aspect of the trade. Is what I'm trying to say. Well, what else we got to talk about? That's it, right? Did I miss anything else? Anyone else send me under Texas? I feel terrible. As soon as I get off this, like everyone bombards me with questions, and I feel horrible. But no, you guys have been really good, and I really appreciate everything. And I got some emails, but I can't go through the emails, guys. The person, it's just too much. Between that and the Texas, we'll have to get it on the next one. All right, guys. It's Wednesday, 1 week away from the end of this, right? So we can finally put this behind us, and then we'll have to deal with it in November again. Don't worry, I'll be the first one to shoot myself in the head when it comes to all this. Have to start this all over again. But listen, we're doing this not just for us. We're doing it for our families, our kids, and to make sure this organization survives and thrives in the next coming years. Listen, the economy will turn back around, and it's our job to be ready for that work. We need the proper training. We need the right people in there training our people. We can't be caught. We have to be ahead of the game. That's going to make us, we have to lead by example, right? We got to be ahead of everything. And, sitting down with these developers and the contractors and stuff like that, I'm ready to go, guys. Believe me, I'll be in the room. And I'll spell it out to them the way it's got to be spelled out to them. Listen, if you don't keep this industry and you don't keep it at a higher standard, you're going to get lower standard people in the industry, and that's not what they want. It's a ripple effect. So, you want education, you want speed, you want quality work. That comes at a price, and a premium price. People don't want to pay for a premium price for a premium product, and that's what we offer, a premium product. That's what all my members are, my brothers and sisters. I consider you guys a premium product. That's what we produce, right? And I don't think anyone could unmatch us with that. So, all right, guys, listen, it was great speaking to all you. It was a great video. I hope everyone enjoyed it, and I'll probably see you again tomorrow, all right? Hang in there, everyone. All right, have a good night.